Tonight at 10, a Fox 61 exclusive. 27 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
Fox 61's Ben Goldman joins us with a story of vindication and resilience. Ben.
Well, Jen and Brett, Mark Shand was just 21 years old when he was arrested for a murder and found himself behind bars, sentenced to life without parole. Except he was completely innocent. Once his life was at risk, he took his future into his own hands. Here's the story of Mark Shand.
26 years, 11 months, 4 days, 20 hours, 26 minutes, 8 seconds for nothing. Nearly 3 decades in a maximum security prison for a murder he didn't commit. In 1986, 21-year-old Mark Shand had recently moved to Hartford from Jamaica, Queens, New York. On October 26th, he stood outside of his father's building on Albany Avenue in Hartford when a group of undercover detectives arrested him.
They slammed me on the hood of the car and they said, Mark Shand, you're under arrest for murder.
What went through your mind?
Well, be perfectly honest with you, at that particular moment I thought I was being punked or something. I honestly thought it was a joke. I said, okay, let's get this over with. This ain't funny, like I don't know these guys.
So you thought that someone was playing a prank on you?
Originally, I thought it was a joke.
Shand was 30 miles away in Hartford when a drug deal outside of the After 5 nightclub in Springfield, Massachusetts, turned into an armed robbery. Victoria Seymour, an innocent bystander, died after being shot by a stray bullet.
I waived extradition because I was under the firm belief that if and when I got there that, you know, this thing will unwind and somebody will say, wow, that's not the guy.
Weeks.
Yeah, and if that, you know, and I figured maybe at the longest till it took to get a court date.
Shand wouldn't return to Hartford for nearly 30 years. 6 men, all of whom were involved in the incident, identified Shand as the shooter. All 6 received sentences for their outstanding multiple felony charges in exchange for their testimony against Shand.
What will make a person, you know, point a person in the lineup and then more than one? So, you know, it crossed my mind that it had to be some reason they were doing it. You know, so they had to have some kind of incentive to do so because none of them knew me.
The day of his sentencing etched in his mind 30 years later, as clear as the day it took place.
I was subsequently found guilty of that murder, and I was sentenced to natural life without the eligibility of parole. It's funny because everything out of all the other screaming and stuff that was going on in the courtroom, all I could hear is my mother scream. You know, she screamed a gut-curdling scream. She you know, and it almost blocked out everything else.
There was not one piece of physical evidence to implicate Shand in the crime, but it made no difference. The day Mark was arrested, he had 2 children from a previous marriage and a third on the way with his girlfriend Maya. Mark and Maya got married while he was incarcerated, and throughout his 27 years in prison, she stood by his side, visiting him weekly, along with his 3 children, the 2 still happily married today.
Oh yeah, once a week for 27 years. The only thing stopped her from coming was a blizzard or a death in the family, or had to be a real bad emergency for her not to come. Other than that, I saw her every week.
All the while, missing his 3 children grow up.
You know, I missed their entire lives. I missed baseball games with them. I missed graduations. I missed karate practice. I missed boxing practice. I missed everything.
While incarcerated in 2009, a pivotal moment. Mark was rushed to the hospital for a brain aneurysm and thought his life was over.
The doctor said, Mark Shand, he said, you had an aneurysm. He said, you know, it's a good chance you may not come back upstairs.
But it was this day that changed the course of Mark's case and his life as a prisoner.
Before they took me down, I remember asking the CO for a piece of paper. And he ripped off the back of an envelope, kinda, and he handed it to me, and he gave me his pen. And I wrote 3 words on the envelope. I wrote, please help me. Right? Simple as that. And I gave it to him, and I don't know how I got the words out, but I said, could you please give this to Jim McCloskey?
Jim McCloskey is the founder of Centurion Ministries, a nonprofit foundation dedicated to vindicating those wrongfully convicted. McCloskey had been in contact with Shand's attorneys, but had not accepted his case. When McCloskey received Mark's simple 3-word note, his decision to help prove Mark's innocence was made.
When we got that note, Joan came into my office. He said, Jim, look at this. And I knew about the brain aneurysm. So I said, okay, that does it. He's going to the top of the heap. We're going to commit to the case right now.
Through Centurion's work, in 2013, Mark's legal team filed a motion for a new trial, new witnesses, an alternate suspect, evidence of false testimony, and official misconduct. Days before his court appearance, the district attorney offered Shand a plea deal, plead guilty to manslaughter, and go free with time served.
I had nothing to do with the crimes. There's no way I'm going to go into a courtroom and say, oh yeah, by the way, I murdered someone that I didn't murder to go home. I mean, I know I couldn't do that. One of the key witnesses that testified against me, he also testified that he perjured himself at the original trial and I was not the guy who shot him. And he had never seen me before.
That day in 2013, Shand walked into the courtroom sentenced to life without parole and walked out a free man. In 2015, Shand was awarded $450,000 compensation from the state of Massachusetts for wrongful incarceration. But Shand also filed a federal lawsuit against the Springfield police, suing the 4 officers who investigated his case in 1986 for violating his constitutional rights, malicious prosecution, and conspiracy. Those officers were found guilty on all 3 counts, and Shand was awarded $1 million for every year he spent in prison.
The award from the jury was $27,127,000.
It's a big number.
It's a big number, but it's just a number.
And Shand says no number, no matter how large, could ever be enough.
They granted me $100 million and gave it to me the day of the verdict. It means nothing in regards to what I lost. You can't give me my time back. I mean, they just can't do it. My 3 sons grew up without me, for no good reason.
6 years a free man, and Mark Shand smiles every day while making smoothies in his New Britain shop.
It might sound hard, but I'm sincerely not angry. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm a little twisted about our legal system, but I'm just not angry. Anger's another prison.
At 55 years old, Mark Shand is a husband, father, grandfather, small business owner with plans to expand his smoothie business, now who enjoys living a simple life with a grateful heart.
I just try to live my life. I think it's big enough to me that I get to wake up to my family every day. I get to get up and get in the car and drive and go where I want every day. Like the stuff that most people just take for granted, like just simple freedom.
Freedom, 26 years, 11 months, 4 days, 20 hours, 26 minutes, and 8 seconds overdue.
Well, tonight, an update on where things stand. The case against the 4 Springfield officers is currently under appeal. The jury's award of $27 million is also under appeal. We reached out to the current district attorney in Massachusetts to find out if they have reopened or plan on reopening the murder investigation. We've not heard back from them. But there is more to Mark's story. If you want to hear more of our hour-long sit-down together, head to our website, fox61.com, for web extras. Also, we put together an Expect More Now podcast for you to hear more of Mark's story and our conversation together. And that story doesn't stop there. Mark now travels around the country speaking to law students at universities, telling this story. And he's coming to Fox 61 tomorrow to talk with us more about what he went through in his journey. That's tomorrow morning on the Fox 61 Morning News at 10 a.m.
What a remarkable story. I'm just so happy for him that his family stayed together and that his wife Maya and his 3 sons, that they're still together as a family. It's great.
She went up there for 27 years and stood by his side. And now, like I said, and he said he's living a life of freedom and doing what he loves, and he's just
not
grateful.
angry. And not angry. He says, anger is another prison. That touched me.
Yeah.
It's incredible.